When I was looking at your artwork, a little bit about your bio, I read that your pieces are influenced by the Greek goddesses, and myths, or was it the myths in general, or specifically?
It was specifically Psyche. When I was growing up, my parents read me the Greek myths as bedtime stories, so I just kind of always had them in my mind. And when I got into college, I was really interested in like the anthropology classes and the history classes and how all of these like cultural traditions pass through different cultures. So when I started my line, I was really like focused on making stuff that was inspired by the past, but in a really modern way. And immediately when I came up with the line, there were two reasons why I named it Psyche. One was loving the goddess, having it be my favorite story. But also when I started it, I didn't want to use my full name because I didn't really think it was going to go anywhere. And I wanted to use my name for something bigger later, hypothetically. But 5 years later, it's a great line. People love it, and it is something. So, yeah.
Nice. So can you tell me a little bit about what your beginning as a jewelry artist?
Yeah. So I started in New York as a prop stylist, and I did like windows and other styling inside boutiques in Soho. And I was just doing that during the day, and I was super bored by it. I actually went to college for fashion design, and I thought I was going to be in apparel. But I ended up taking a night class, beginning some metalsmithing at this studio in Williamsburg, and I just loved it. And I went online, I went on Craigslist, and I just started searching for like internships and stuff. And I came across this designer, Elizabeth Knight Jewelry, and I emailed her and I was like, hey, I want to learn from you. I think you're amazing. And turns out she had this incredible community jewelry space in Greenpoint, where there were about 12 jewelers working, and they were all at different levels, and we all shared our tools and things like that, and especially like the expensive stuff. So I came in and I had like a very small amount of knowledge for metalsmithing, and she was like, okay, you can be my apprentice. Can you commit to a significant period of time? I can't pay you. So I quit that job and I just went and just dove into work with her, and I learned everything from her, and I was just doing tons of tedious, well, it would be considered tedious to most people, but to me it's the stuff I really love. Like I just throw my headphones on and get dirty and grind and just do this monotonous stuff, and I was just doing that for her over and over and over, and I really honed my skills in. And then I decided to start my own collection, and the first collection I made took me an entire year to make, and then after I got that collection down, I jumped right into working with the showroom, and I took my designs to market that very first year. So that really helped me jump immediately right into the fashion world, right from my very first collection. And I had these amazing mentors. I really lucked out. Like when I tell people the story, they're like, holy crap, I can't believe that you were so in the right place at the right time. And she ended up really helping me through my entire career, like guiding me. I got to learn from her. I worked for her for almost 4 years.
Nice. And so, I guess coming back to the Greek myth, I see a lot of geometric edges and shapes, and specifically arrows. I noticed your tattoo and the rings inside, which I'm tempted to buy one.
Yeah.
And so, can you tell me a little bit about that?
So the myth of Psyche's lover was Eros, Cupid, the god of love. So that's where the original arrow came from. Like in the story, he pokes himself with his own arrow and falls in love with Psyche. So it's like kind of personally my biggest flaw, maybe that I'm such a lover. Like I fall so hard, and I like in every aspect, in my work and in my personal life, I just am like full throttle. So I always connected with that, and there's a lot of arrows in my work because of that. It just kind of connects back into the story.
We're doing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Can you tell me a little bit about the keys?
Yeah, so I did a collection based on, I saw a really interesting drama theater in Russia, and I saw this picture of it, and it looked like, it was from the 1960s, and it looked like something from the future, but it was actually from the 60s. So I started working with this concept of time travel, where I was trying to create pieces that I felt like could either be from the past again or in the future. So those keys are the keys to the other dimensions, which I just, in my mind, created. And they have all these geometric shapes. It's kind of like a skeleton key, but in a modern way. And maybe in my mind, my muse reaches a portal and discovers this key and walks into I don't know where.
Have you been to Greece?
I haven't.
Me neither.
I'm dying to go.
It's a go-to.
I think I would just nerd out the whole time, though.
I noticed you had the little suitcase and some books in there, so now it makes more sense about your parents reading to you and the traveling. So, would you say that you have other cultural influences being in New York and now in Texas, or is it just mostly focused on?
There's definitely other cultural influences. The way I design is usually like one big aspect of my creative process is I'm constantly walking around. I'm constantly just looking and seeing what catches my eye. More than looking at fashion magazines, I try and look at real life or what people are talking about around me, and then I hear something and I get really into it. So generally, like a collection that I did called Shaman's Trance is based off of this tribe called the Sans Bushmen. They're in South Africa and Botswana, and they have these really cool, they're still traditional hunters and gatherers. They have shaman that go into these really interesting cave trance states and do cave paintings, and the cave paintings are very symbolic. So I saw that in like a museum or something, and I was like, oh my god, these cave paintings are amazing. And then I just start reading everything I can, and then I learn, like, it's funny how all these things end up connecting somehow, collection from collection. As I start to research, I realize this connected to something that I was on in a previous collection.
Like law of attraction.
Yeah, exactly. So like I learn about the Sand Bushmen, and then I find out that they've just been pushed off of their reservation because of the diamond trade. So I'm like, this is something personally connected to me. Like, my industry is messing with this tribe. Like, it's just kind of like crazy how everything ends up connecting.
So I notice it's mostly gold and silver, a lot of metallic and stone, very old materials in a good way.
Yeah.
And do you see yourself kind of all your work is beautiful, but do you see yourself branching out into other kinds of precious stones and metals, or do you really like the focus of what?
Definitely. I mean, right now I've just been honing my craft still. I mean, this is my 6th year with the line, and I just still feel that I want to use the things I'm familiar with so I can make the best pieces. But just earlier today, I went to the Austin forging competition, where there were traditional blacksmiths and traditional metal workers who were doing large-scale blacksmith work, and it was incredibly inspiring. Like, in the future, I'd hope to make like home goods, sculptures, large-scale ironwork, and stuff like that. But I think I'll always stay with the traditional stuff. Like, I don't use 3D printing. I don't use, CAD. I still make everything by hand the traditional way, and it's important for me to stay true to that because I think it's a core of where we started,
So what brought you to Texas?
So I had the line in New York, obviously, for a while, and it was just time for me, branding-wise, to open up a store. So I hired some marketing people to analyze the back end of my website and the retail environment, and I thought for sure they were going to say go to LA. I told all my LA friends, I'm coming, and before they told me anything, and they said Austin. So I just packed up and came here.
Nice.
Yeah.
How long have you been here?
Since November.
And so this is where you'll be as of now.
So I'll be here permanently. Once a month I'll go kind of travel around. So I'll go, I pop up on South Congress at Hotel San Jose next weekend. And I'm going to go to that Greek town with have all the wineries. I forget what it's called. But I'll go there next month. So I'll travel a little. But I want to have a place where I'm really stationed so people know where to find me.
Understood. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.